Hi, welcome to a slightly later Barmy Army podcast. It's number 18. We've been doing this now for 18 weeks. Tonight we're joined by Iain and Jon. How are you both doing, guys?
Good, thanks.
And tonight we're going to be talking about the contracts that the players have signed, both new contracts and extensions to their current contracts. So I think we'll probably start from the goalkeepers and work our way forwards and see. So Fran Bentley, she signed a 1-year extension to her current deal. Firstly, were you surprised that she signed an extension? Because there's a lot of people within the Man United footballing fans who were surprised that we've not got rid of another goalkeeper within this off-season. So were you surprised that Fran signed a contract, and are you surprised that a goalkeeper hasn't gone or not? Jon?
I wasn't surprised that she stayed, to be honest. We had far too many goalkeepers last season. With Shivy going and Aurora going, that leaves 3. Unless if we plan to bring in another goalkeeper, then I think 3 is a good number. Casey did mention that she wants to bring the youth through, hence why one of the reasons why Siobhan ended up leaving. So no, I think it'll be nice to actually start seeing what Ramsey and what Fran Bentley can actually do on maybe like a regular basis or a regular run of cup games or something.
Yeah, because Iain, we've seen Fran play a half, I think it was. Are you surprised?
Yeah, I kind of was a bit. The only reason I say that is obviously Rambo signed an extension in January, I think, as well. So, we've got Mary. She's probably on a 2+1, I'm guessing, like most people seem to be when they initially signed for us. But in the grand scheme of things, thinking about it, keeping 3 keepers on the book is probably a good thing because one of them can go out on loan. You can probably send Fran off on loan, get some experience, keep Rambo as the backup, or vice versa, depending on how Casey wants to do it. And then if one gets injured, they're easily recallable. Whereas if we got rid of Fran over the winter, over the summer, any injury, we've got 1 keeper left. And I'm going to be honest with you, I can't remember off the top of the head the keeper in the devs, but is she ready to step up if called upon? Probably not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I see it from both sides. I see it from I think most teams have 3 goalkeepers around the first team anyway, just in case something happens, or if someone gets an injury in warm up or anything, that we can just say, right, we've got a spare keeper. I thought last season we were probably had more keepers than we need. But obviously with Shivy being pregnant, obviously then, and at the beginning of the year, Fran having that arm injury, and then obviously that caused a domino effect. And we had to bring in Aurora, who personally, I know Jon and we've talked about it. We didn't think we saw enough of Aurora, and unfortunately, one place into 5 doesn't go. So yeah, I was surprised in the order things have gone, but as you said, Iain, yeah, Fran around the squad, and if not, she's not going to be needed potentially, then we can always send her out on loan and recall her. Hi, Jon, Nat, Lotta, and Fiona. So you were both surprised that she stayed, that she signed an extension. Would you hope to be seeing her playing next season at some point?
I would hope so. When we obviously who knows what the Conti Cup draw will bring us. Whatever the FA fix, they'll fix.
We can't say that here. We can't say that, Ian. You know that.
When you can't see the draw and you suddenly end up with all but one Super League team in a group, it doesn't feel right. If you're going to do a draw properly, it should have been 2 and 2. But hang on,
Oh, okay.
That's what I was going to say. But yeah, if we end up, with a trip to Durham or a trip to Coventry or Liverpool, because technically they're a Championship side next season. Mary doesn't necessarily have to start those games in the Conti Cup against the Championship side. So I would say that's where you play a Fran or a Rambo, and also look at the early rounds of the FA Cup. If we don't draw Man City out in the 4th round in January, we pull out a Stoke City or someone from the National League, if obviously the National League starts. So obviously that's sort of subject to everything's going on. Again, there's a thing as, do you need to play Mary? No. So again, there's a chance to blood them in there, because obviously was it Rambo that came on against the Bees at Fylde last season? Or the season gone?
I can't remember
was
that.
It Fran?
No,
one of those two made that bench. Was it Fran?
I think it was Fran.
That was perfect timing. Shiv didn't need to be in the goal for 90 minutes, and we gave valuable experience. So yeah, my gut feeling is Mary will start all the WSL games, any large, any game against WSL side in a cup. But if we've got a lower ranked team to play in the Conti Cup or the FA Cup, that's what we should blood them and give them some minutes, because I think they deserve it.
Yeah. I mean, John, obviously Rambo started against Birmingham away in the Conti Cup. Aurora started against Leicester at home in the Conti Cup, and then obviously the FA Cup draw was made fairly, and we got City, in a fair draw, according to Ian, and obviously that changed it. If we hadn't got City, do you think we would have probably, if we'd have got, like Ian said, a team from the lower side, we would have seen a Rambo or a Fran in goal?
Yeah, I think so. Goalkeepers are very hard to rotate unless if you're just going to do what, say, the men's team do and just have a dedicated goalkeeper. It's very rare that you see goalkeepers get subbed off. After 60 minutes, give someone a rest because they just don't need a rest. So I agree with Ian. Just there's got to be opportunities in the cup games just to play them, even if it is almost like a tough game. These young goalkeepers aren't going to get any other chance, so you almost have to take a risk on them. And I think Casey has took that. Must think highly of them, both the youngsters, or else you would have brought somebody in to replace Siobhan. I know me and you, Marc, was talking on the last podcast about Mary Earps having competition. I'm sure Casey could have looked out there for maybe a more experienced goalkeeper, but she's decided to stick with Fran and Rambo. So she must have plans for them.
Yeah, I mean, towards the back end of our Championship season, obviously Siobhan had the foot injury, so we saw Rambo in goal. And to be fair, I thought she played all right, and obviously the beginning of the season, she played pre-season in Oslo, which the game wasn't great. And then obviously Mary came in, as we've always said, and Mary, she is the number one. Moving on to the next player, another player to sign an extension to a contract is Kirsty Smith. Now, in my opinion, and it's not everyone's opinion, Kirsty Smith was probably one of our best players up until, probably from the restart, from the Christmas break till COVID came and, just ruined everything for everyone. So are you surprised that the club have extended it only for a year and not offered her a new contract? John?
No, I think that's probably the right decision, because even though I agree with you and I do really want to part of that squad, As things stand, we've now got four fullbacks for two positions, which, Casey said in the last interview she wants two players for each position, which is the right thing to do. But maybe to move the team forward, whether it be a year or two's time, one of those four needs to make way. I think the jury's still out on which one of those four is probably going to drop out at some point. But this season, or this summer, isn't the season to make wholesale changes there. So I can understand the logic behind it. I wouldn't want to choose any fullback to leave the squad at all, because I think I defend them all quite well, and I've definitely got high hopes for Lotta, who we haven't seen much of yet, and I think Martha's very solid at the back, and I think obviously Kirsty is one of my favourites because she likes to get forward as well. So yeah, I could understand it just being a one season, but I think they've all just got a point to prove now in this season to make their career last a bit longer at United.
Yeah, Iain, you obviously, you've watched Kirsty Smith quite a bit. Are you surprised it's only a year?
It kind of was a surprise, because obviously I think was it announced the same day as Martha's extension as well.
Yeah, I think it was Martha signed a new contract.
She got a new contract plus a year,
and Kirsty,
and then got their 1 year options.
Yeah.
Kirsty, as you rightly said, I think she, after maybe just before Christmas, but definitely after Christmas, she was a player that we thought we knew she could be. We've seen glimpses of it, and I think her, along with Leah on the left, could, they worked really well together. That game against Everton. If I remember correctly, I'm sure she started against Everton. This is where I'm completely wrong. That worked really well. Obviously, bringing in Ona to who will give her competition, but I think that's needed. I think that might spur her on to better things as well. These 1 year options are used also sometimes to say, look, you've got a year, prove yourself, new contract. Otherwise, it's a case of they'll leave. But I really think Kirsty Smith will rise to the challenge the next year. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're sat here this time next year and she's got a new deal, if she performs in the coming season that we know she can do.
So, quick question, because you kind of brought it up, question to you both. So, is Kirsty Smith then your starting left back when the season begins? John?
That's a tough one. I think a lot of it at the moment depends on what they're doing in pre-season and in training. I think it's very borderline between her and Lotta, in my eyes. I think Lotta has obviously finished the last season quite well, but so did Kirsty. So I couldn't really choose. I think both of their attributes are very similar. I think Kirsty just obviously brings that experience. She does work well, like Iain says, on that left-hand side, overlapping. But I think Lotta can do that as well. She just hasn't quite proved it over a long period of time yet. So, yeah, I do think it's probably Kirsty's to lose, so to speak. But I do think that Lotta's been brought in for that role. So, if you want me to answer the question, I will go for Kirsty. But I wouldn't be surprised if Lotta maybe plays more games this season.
Okay, then. So I'll word it another way. Is Kirsty Smith one of your starting fullbacks then, right or left, in the beginning of next season?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Iain?
Yeah, I think so. As I said, Kirsty Smith can play left or right, so she's got competition from Lotta on the left, Ona on the right, and a bit of Amy T, because we know she can play right back as well. So, I think I still think Kirsty can play both sides. So she will start either side that's my gut feeling. She'll be a starter, but I couldn't tell you if it will be at left back or right back because she can play both, obviously.
Because in the comments, which I'm going to put some up now, Nat says owner's going to start on the right, Lotta on the left, kind of like what John said. And the other John, he agrees with John. Owner and Lotta are going to be probably our starting fullbacks. I can kind of see every point of view.
Yeah.
Kirsty Smith, for me, doesn't deserve not to be because of the way she finished the season, if we can say it that way. Lotta deserves a start as well because I thought she played really well against Everton. But as John rightly said, it depends what happens in pre-season. And Fiona's spot on here. Depends who we play and how Owner is settled as well.
Yeah, she's right. And you've also got to remember that Owner's coming into a league which is a lot more physical than she's used to. So it's going to probably take Owner time to adapt. So it wouldn't surprise me, like Lotta did at the Etihad, she played 45.
Yeah.
And came off. So it wouldn't surprise me, again, if we saw an Owner play initially for 45, get replaced. Because, the Spanish league is obviously a completely different kettle of fish. English leagues, doesn't matter what you are, women's, men's, youth, with physical. Our game has got a lot of physicality in it. One little touch in continental football and you give away a free kick. Here, it's a completely different kettle of fish. So Fiona's right. However, Owner settles, and if she can get with the physicality of our league, she's an international. She played against the USA in the She Believes this season. Season just come by. So she's off the caliber, but it all depends on how she settles, because I think you'll see Owner a bit at the start of the season, but it wouldn't surprise me if Owner eventually gets makes right back her own. But I think Kirsty Smith probably has the initial head start on that.
Yeah, it's so tough because we're talking about late in podcasts to come about the starting lineup and everything else. But yeah, the one thing we've got right now is a lot of. We've got 4 fullbacks to fit into 2 positions. So another defender that signed a new contract, Martha Harris. I think that contract is fully deserved. She made left back her own, left back her own position last season. So I'm of the opinion that a 1-year deal is great. I think she fully deserves it. John?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think before Christmas, she played a big part in us keeping those clean sheets. I think she played 4 of the 5 games where we kept clean sheets, and that obviously got us off to a good start after the 2 losses in the first 2 games. I think she's very good at the back. What she's up against in Lotta, Kirsty, and Owner is obviously she just doesn't really get forward as comfortable and as often as those, and I think that probably just works against her a little bit. But it's definitely full deserved. And I think just because she signed a new contract, it doesn't mean that she's guaranteed to start. She's a squad player, and she's well worthy of that. Casey knows what she's going to get from her. Very professional, puts in a solid performance and gives 100%. So I think it's a very good option to have. Probably not a starter, but she is there to give maybe some of the other players a rest and play on those cup games.
I mean, for me, Ian, obviously we travelled up and down the road in the championship season, so watching a lot, and obviously Martha's a fan favourite. So was it a no-brainer for you that she got a new contract based on last year?
I think over the 2 years, I don't know, because obviously we're not quite sure how things started year 1. We think that most people were on a 1 year but automatically got renewed with promotion. I think is how we thought most of the contracts ran in the championship. But yeah, seeing Martha over the last 2 years, You know, she's played really well when we needed her. You know, she's quite, you know, for a player of her size, she's fairly physical. You know, she doesn't get brushed off the ball that easily. So she's well deserves her contract. I see her as a squad player. You know, as John said, rotating in when we need a player to have a rest, or, you know, if it's a Conti Cup game where you don't need to start Kirsty or Lotta or Ona where they're not really needed. You know, it's a perfect game for someone like Martha to come in because we know Martha will do the job. So yeah, I think she does deserve the year. And as Casey said in her, you know, her Instagram / Twitter video they put up a couple of days ago, competition in every position is key. And that's one thing we didn't have last season. In certain places, there was no competition for places, and competition for places spurs everybody on to be a better player, to get that start, you know, to start every week. So having her around is good. And obviously, you know, she has, as you said, got a bit of a cult following a certain goal in Millwall last year.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that goal.
Yeah.
So out of the three we've talked about, two of them you thought are fully deserved. One of them you can kind of, you know, you're 50-50 on one of them as well. So we've kind of said that, you know, we don't know who's going to start fullbacks or this, that, and the other. But would you say, for an example, you know, Martha Kirsty starting Conti Cup games, on a Lotta starting WSL, or would you do it the other way to give them more game time?
Again, like I said, I think a lot of it will depend on form as well. Obviously there's no form going into the first couple of 3 games, so you probably look at pre-season and the way the season ended last season. I don't think there's any rush to get Ona into the starting lineup. I think she's going to be probably, I'll say, one for the future. That doesn't mean I'm disregarding this season. I just think that she's been brought in not just for one season, she's been brought in to hopefully be a part of this journey with us. So for Ona to play the first 2 or 3 games of the season, I don't think that's necessarily needed as such. So I think if Katie knows what she's going to get with Kirsty and Lotta, then maybe, you know, I should choose those first. But I do think she might have a separate team for the Cup and a separate team for the WSL, especially until fatigue hits or suspensions or injuries, yeah.
So moving on to a player who signed a new 2-year deal, or it might probably be 2 + 1, is Ella Toon, who is a very, very good player. You know, to a lot of people, she probably didn't play enough last season for us. But she started against City at the Etihad. She started against Arsenal at home as well. So, again, 2-year deal, good business, or were you kind of, I don't know if she's done enough for that? John?
For me, this was almost a dead cert for me, to be honest. I don't think we've seen even the best of Ella yet. I think she's been brought in gradually. I think Casey's doing a good job with her. I know it's a bit frustrating at times because I do want to see more of her, especially around Christmas time last year, where I think it was November, where she scored those 5 goals in the Conti Cup. And that was really about the same time where some of our midfielders probably weren't contributing any goals. So I think it has been a little bit frustrating that Ella hasn't probably been given more opportunities. But I do think that we will see more games from her. And I know with the new signings that we've got in, it will be more difficult. But I just think that she's a part of the furniture, and I think she's going to be here for a long time. You know, I really do. I think the thing that she does off the pitch as well, I think she's really well loved within the squad and within the fan base. And she can do, you know, a variety of roles as well. She's not just like necessarily an attacking midfielder. You know, she can like go out wide if needs be. She can score goals. It can be a number 10 or whichever way you look at it. I think there's a lot to come from her at such a young age. So I'm really glad that she stayed. As for like the length of time, you know, I think 2 years is about right. I think she'll break through even more this season. I'm hoping so. I know it's going to be tough with the other midfielders that we've got, but I think 2 is one that's going to get better and just continue to develop. So yeah, I'm really happy with that one, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Iain, one of the biggest criticisms that on social media of Ella that I saw is that in front of goal against Leicester, she was brilliant. She bagged 5 against that opposition. But when we played Arsenal at home, there was a couple of chances that she should have put the ball away. And a lot of people on social media have been criticising her finishing, because some games like the Leicester game, she's been brilliant. Sometimes against Arsenal, she wasn't. Do you just put it down to her age, game time, and going on to the point that John made, a good deal for United signing her up for 2 years?
Yeah, she is young, so she is still learning her craft. You know, you just look at Lauren James as well. She doesn't, Lauren James could be the same. You know, she can be brilliant one game, and unfortunately, she's not in it the next. It's just how things happen. You know, Ella has scored 22 goals for the club. She's our most prolific goal scorer from midfield. So she's definitely got a goal in her. Yes, I think sometimes the occasion might get to her, or not every player can play 100% of the time. We all know that. But Ella is definitely one for the future, I think. 2-year deal is good because, basically it's a 3-year deal. So we've got 3 more years of her growth. Casey can obviously try and help her grow and fulfill her potential. So I like it. Again, she's going to be a squad player. She will start in certain, it all depends on Casey's plan for the game, her game plan. So she will start some of the games and she'll sit on the bench some of the games like she did last season, the season before last. She's not going to start week in, week out, but Ada will do a job for you, and she will come up with a goal at a key time. So no, I like it. Tying it down as well is good business in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I did read on Twitter months and months and months ago before lockdown was, and it's an old woman's tale, that number 7 shirt of Manchester United is a very difficult shirt to wear. There's only certain players who can pull it off. You know, the likes of Brian Robson, Eric Cantona, Ronaldo, Beckham. And someone has said, I think it was John in the comments that said, confidence is the key. I'm not for 1 minute going to suggest that wearing that number 7 shirt is hindering her at all. But would you say what John said about Ella is confidence is a key issue as well?
Yeah, but don't forget, confidence can come with like a run of games as well. So if she keeps on getting pulled out of the team or doesn't get many starts, maybe in the back of her head, it depends obviously what Casey's saying to her on the training pitch as well. But maybe she is thinking, oh, maybe I'm not good enough for this club. Maybe I'm not good enough because she's not starting enough. But don't forget, there's a lot of. It's not just about being picked. So it's not just about what happens on the game day. I'm sure Casey is speaking to her on a daily basis anyway, and guiding her and coaching her, keeping her spirits up that way. I think it's very easy to judge a player just on game day. I think because a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that I'm sure Ella's aware of. I've got full faith that she's going to continue to improve. And like Iain says, she's probably not going to be a starter in most WSL games. Not at the start anyway. Maybe if some of the other more experienced players don't perform, then Ella will be knocking on the door as she was this season. But I've got a feeling that this season we will see a bit more rotation. If some of the more experienced players aren't playing well, I think Casey will be a bit more cutthroat this season and rotate that midfield if she needs to, and Ella will be part of that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the key things that I always remember is after the Leicester game, where she scored her 5 goals. People were clamouring on social media. Some people who weren't even at the game were saying, Ella Toone has to start the next game. She has to start the next game. So I would like her to see have a run of game, but as Iain said, she's our most prolific midfielder, scoring goals. So I would like her to see, but I think Jake said it earlier on in the comments somewhere. But she now has, she's got so much competition now in front of her. Do you see her falling even further down the pecking order?
There is a possibility of that, unfortunately. You look at who can play in centre midfield now. You got Katie, who's the captain, so you don't drop the captain. She starts week in, week out unless she's rested. You've got the marquee signing from last summer of Jackie Groningen. How hard is it to drop someone like her? You brought in Lucy Staniforth to bring in experience. There is a lot of experience in that midfield, especially in that centre midfield. Some people could say you've got to start Lucy Stan over Ella. That immediately puts Ella 4th. In the pecking list. So there is a danger of that, but I honestly think that Casey has obviously seen something in Ella. We see something in Ella. I think she will get more game time than we think she will. I think she will start some of the big games. We'll probably play, like a 5 in midfield, and she would be the extra, midfielder. With Hayley Ladd obviously sitting in front of the back 4 like she normally does. So I think we'll see more of her than we expect. The only thing with Ella is she needs to calm her temper a little bit, because she does have a bit of a hot streak in her, and it has cost her.
Yeah,
she got sent off.
Yeah, so that's exactly what Jake said. She's got a passion we all love to see. The discipline can be off at times, but it just shows how much she cares. But then Jake has come back in, and John Fry, they said, would it be silly to suggest we put her up front as an experiment? And John said, player as a number 10 behind LJ. Both very interesting points. But if we did that, then the next person who signed a new deal wouldn't get much game time. And I, for one, want her to play in her natural position. I'm talking about Jess Sigsworth. Obviously a fan's favourite. My disappointment of last season is that I don't think we saw her enough up front in her natural position, and when we did, she was, not to be rude, a beast. She tore defend. She ripped central defenders apart, and she powered through them. And but I like LJ up there as well. It's one of those. She only signed a year deal. Surprised is that to me is the one that really, I thought that's the one that really surprised me. John?
I'm really glad that she stayed, to be honest. So obviously there was a lot of talk about just needing goals next season, getting a new striker. Maybe one of the strikers had to give way. It was never going to be LJ, so that only really left Jess or Jane. So first of all, I'm really glad that she stayed. Last season, I think she did a job for the team, lacking on depth in the wide areas. Hanson's still developing, so she's she alternated with Kirsty quite a bit. I think that playing up front, either ahead of LJ or ahead of Tooney, well, whatever formation, she's going to score more goals than she scores the season just gone. We know that there's goals in her. When we say that, oh, well, she came in as a sub, or she came in after 3 or 4 games of not playing and she didn't score, again, that's just another example of maybe you just need a run of games. And yes, we do need players who can be impact players who don't need a run of games, but sometimes you've got to take a step back and think to yourself, well, we know Jess can score. She just needs a bit of confidence herself, maybe. I'm really happy that she stayed. The formation, I do think that Katie will experiment this season. I think now that she's got a new assistant manager, she might have some new ideas. She stacked that midfield up for a reason. We spoke about LJ potentially being a number 10 and somebody else ahead of her. So that's 6 or 7 midfielders there already. So I think that Jess will get more starts right up top. And then maybe it's up to LJ and Tooney and Jackie to fight it out, maybe who sits behind Jess. That's what I'd like to at least maybe see happen for a couple of 3 games. If it doesn't work out, then there's plenty of midfielders that can replace Jess and put LJ up front.
I think the one thing that surprises me, Iain, about the women's game is that there's no what I would call long-term contracts. They're not signing for 4 years or 5 years. From reading on from about other teams and obviously about United, they're only ever signing like a 1+1 or a 2+1 deal. Does that need to change in the women's game, do you think, to make it more appealing? Because you can have a player who like Jeff Sigsworth, who plays for Doncaster Bells for 1 season and then leaves. Does that need to change in the women's game, do you think?
It probably will change, but I don't think it will change until the game is on a firmer financial footing. You just need to look at club profit and loss figures that are out there. Not many teams made a profit in the last few years. I think United made a small one last year. City made some. I think Chelsea made one. But that's all because mainly of the input of club money from the parent club. So to tie someone up for 3 years to a salary that, I don't have a clue what salaries are like in the women's game. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think many people are fully aware of what it is, but I'm guessing if they're taking home, 25,000, 35,000 pounds a year, that's not a lot if we're honest. So I think you'll see longer term contracts when there's money in the game. So for now, you're just going to get the short term deals because clubs don't know what the financial future holds. Now is a perfect example. If you'd signed someone last summer to a 4-year deal, and there were, wage increases in each of those years, you could put yourself into quite a financial quagmire at the moment. So, it doesn't surprise me at the moment with how contracts are. I think they will change eventually, but it won't be until there's funds, until the league is run by, say, a Premier League or an outside entity, and there's good sponsorship money coming in, and there's good TV revenue money coming in, then I think you'll start to see the contracts adjust to that because agents will be saying the money's there now. At the moment, the money's just not there.
Yeah, when you reading some of the comments, I think John Fry, he agrees longer contracts will help probably grow the game. That's the favourites say. Jake goes the other way. He says 1-year deals, they make transfer windows more exciting. But then he quickly says, actually, we might need longer contracts as well. So on the, so when you're looking at the players we've signed, we've still got a couple more to talk about. With the exception of Tooney, they've actually only signed 1 year. There is that option, we think, with some of them, we're not sure. So the next player I want to talk about, who is a fan, I'm a fan of hers. I know John Fry is a fan of hers, so John's going to be very active in this bit. Amy Turner. Amy Turner is clear. I mean, I don't think, I know you're a fan of hers, Ian, and I know, John, you are as well. She came in last season, obviously we signed Abby McManus, and a lot of people were thinking, well, Amy's going to be, warming the bench. She came on against City at the Etihad, and from that point on, she kind of made right back her own. And people were struggling. I mean, I was so impressed. And one of my favourite moments of last season is Amy Turner against Liverpool, where she goes in for a tackle and she gets the ball, and it's like a sonic boom that went round LSV. So I'm kind of upset they've not offered her more than one. I don't know whether they did. I mean, I'm upset that it's only one. John, you?
Yes, because again, going by what Casey said in that interview about 2 players for each position. At the moment, we've only really got 3 centre backs, now on centre backs, and bringing in this extra fullback in owner, then obviously this frees up Amy to play more time as a centre back again. That's probably in Casey's thought. So she will put pressure on Abby or Millie to make sure that they're always on top of their game. And as you say, competition for places is really important. And we are, with these new signings, we have actually got a lot of competition for places now. I think it'll be interesting to see how many games Amy starts this season, because I'm quietly confident that she's going to be playing a lot of games, not just cup games, but maybe a few WSL games as well. Nothing against either of the other two, because I think anyone who knows, I'm a big fan of both of those other 2 players. But with what Amy did for us last season, I think she deserves every possible game minutes that she can. So yeah, she's proved that she can play the WSL as well. So yeah, huge fan of Amy.
Ian?
Yeah, as you said, that tackle against Liverpool, that goal against Everton that came out of nowhere, nobody expected to do that. I really think she deserves the year extension. She had such a bad time with injuries while she was at Liverpool. And the one thing you can say, while she's been at United, she's barely been injured. Casey's managed her game time really well. She didn't necessarily, she starts on a Sunday. She didn't necessarily start the midweek to protect her. I don't know, a year is good. She's got an option for another year, if I remember correctly. So, it's possibly 2 years. It keeps the competition up for places, as we said. Again, Casey wants competition. She wants 2 people in every position. But I think, in the greater scheme of things, the year contract also is something that can be used. That I know this is what Rich Lafferty said to Deb and to Nat, that the squad won't change overnight. It'll be an evolution, and these 1 year contracts are probably ways of Casey slowly, changing the team, because obviously with a 1 year contract you can let them go and you can bring someone in. So it's probably also a way of helping the club, in the future, that you're not tied someone down to a 2 or 3 year deal, and you can replace them with. I would hate to see the day that Amy leaves, but she's probably one that will leave eventually to be replaced by someone newer, younger, as part of the evolution of the squad.
Yeah. I mean, this goes back to the point I previously made. I agree with what you said, Ian, when the league is in a better place financially, contracts might start to get longer, but when you go through this list, and there's still obviously one more player to talk about, some of them on merit deserve more than the year. And it's just, the evolution of the game. Like you said, it needs to happen to go that, to tie these players down. So the last player, and again, another fan favourite, the winger, Kirsty Hansen, a year deal. Surprise again. This whole thing is, as I said, do any of these players more than the year? Obviously, we don't know what the club have offered or what we presume it's 1+1. So when we say a year, it's technically 2. But Kirsty Hansen again, only a year according to what we read. John.
Yeah, I think this one's purely just to see how her development continues. To be honest, I think she's come a long way in the last 12 months. I'm really delighted that she's stayed with United, and I just think that if Casey or the club offered her more than one season, then you are tying her down, and we still don't know what her full capabilities are at the moment. If she keeps progressing the way that she is, then I think she'll deserve more than 1 year. But as Iain said as well, with regarding Amy, you still don't know what the future holds. I guess with maybe certain players. I think she should be. She's a natural winger. She does add balance with her on one side and Leah on the other side. We need squad depth in that role as well, especially with Lizzie leaving. So for me, I think it's a real good keeper. Definitely, I think it's she can add goals. She's fit. She runs up and down. And she's good at tracking back as well. She speaks very positively about the club. She seems to bring a lot of happiness on Twitter and on social media. I just think there's more to come from Kirsty as well, to be honest. So I think that's why she's probably just on the 1 season. And if that doesn't come, if she does start taking a step backwards, then the club haven't tied themselves down. But I think 1 season for now is understandable. Definitely with the aim to extend it or renew it next season.
Just before I go to Iain, welcome MUFC gang from Canada. Thanks for liking our stuff. We're going to keep stuff coming during this uncertain period for everyone. Anyway, Iain, I know you're a favourite. I know she's a favourite. In fact, most of the team are your favourites. Let's just quibble. Let's just cut that out. Most of the team are your favourites. Kirsty Hansen, for me, I love watching her down the right. Her on the right, Leah on the left. That's for me is what I know before we came on we were talking about the United way, but 2 ringers, Kirsty Hansen, Leah Galton. That's it for me. I can't say much more. I hope she stays for a while, but as John said, it's keeping them ticking kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. Do you know what though? I'm going to say this, and it's not going to come as a surprise. I think she deserves a longer contract. I think she deserves a 2-year deal. I'm going to be honest with you. Her progression in the last 2 seasons is visible for everybody to see. She has such a good working attitude. You see what she does off the pitch on social media. She's always working. She's always looking to improve. She just feels like she's a United player. I don't know if you understand what I mean by that.
Yeah.
But as you said, her down the right, Leah down the left. If we can keep Jess in the middle of the park, and if she's alongside LJ, or if she's obviously she should be alongside Ivana. The 2 wingers will get balls into the box and they will be dangerous. From what we know, Jessica is a bully and she can control the ball in the box. From what I've seen of Ivana, she's a tidy player as well. So those 2 bombing down the wings, if we can get good balls in the box, there are definitely goals to be scored next season. So yeah, Kirsty, I would have liked 2. I agree with those. I can see exactly what John's saying about one. I think Casey sees something in Kirsty as well. So the only issue with Kirsty is keeping her fit, because she has had a few injuries, which is then why we've lost Jess out to the right.
Yeah, I mean, I said early on these are weird times, and I mean this shows you how weird, because Deborah goes, I can't believe I agree with Iain on something. So I mean, that just shows you the weird times we're living in. Jake, he goes as well, and he says she deserves a regular place in the Scotland squad as well. Surprisingly, she made she got her first full cap for Scotland as well. She was plagued with an injury before COVID-19 ruined the world for everyone. And we were at the Everton game, and when the team were warming up, she was running laps of the pitch, and she said, I believe she said to someone she wasn't that far off. She was hoping to hopefully try and regain a place before the season would have finished normally. I agree with you, Iain. I'm surprised it's only a year. Now, we've mentioned the players that have signed and their new contracts and extension. Is there any surprises for the players that haven't, or we don't think have?
Yes.
Right. See, I'm going to be a mind reader now. People are not going to believe this, but we've not discussed this before we came on. But I reckon there's two players I reckon, Iain, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to go in a stab in the dark. One of them is Katie Zell.
No.
Oh, really? And no. Millie T.
Yeah, Millie T is definitely one of them. She needs to be well and truly locked down. Give her a 6-year deal.
Deborah said it. Millie Turner for life.
I wouldn't disagree with that either. I think it's Amber, isn't it? Amber puts out every now. You're here forever. That Simpsons meme that comes out every now and then. But yeah, I would. Millie is definitely one that I would want to nail down for a long time. The other one is, I know she only joined us last summer, but it's Hayley Ladd.
Oh, okay.
I think she has been fantastic for us. She came into a team last summer. Not all of us knew her. I know a couple of you bumped into family in Nice at the World Cup. I think that was just before I got down there. But her performances in the last year, we were screaming out for a defensive midfielder in the championship season. That game at Arsenal, in the Conti Cup, in the semi-final, we said we need a proper holding midfielder. We can't be moving Alex into defensive midfielder to then leave left back. At the time, Kirsty wasn't having a great time. But that night, okay, she had a rough start, but by the end of it, she was in control at left back. But that was something we always said. So I would love. So yeah, Hayley Ladd is the other player I would tie down. But Millie, I don't want to see Millie Turner leave our club at all, ever. I think she has such a bright future. I think she can get a really good working relationship with Abby Mack. If Abby Mack can be the player we know she can be, that's a central defence that could last years and could become the England back two as well.
Yeah, I mean, not just for us, but for my life, for my life in living in the same house as my wife, Debs, who loves Millie T. If Millie T leaves, I might as well, I don't know what, I might have to find somewhere else to live because it'll be unbearable. John, any surprises for you that we don't know of? Is it Katie and Millie, that the two that probably surprise you the most?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Iain as well with those two names. Hayley's obviously performed so well. We need to keep hold of, everyone that we've been bringing in who's improving us. We need to make sure that they can stay first. I mean, we talk about other players who we'd like to bring in, but if you're losing players as well, then obviously that we know we're not moving forward, are we? So yeah, definitely we need to tie down Hayley. Mila Turner, obviously, I speak about highly on pretty much every podcast, so I won't go into too much detail now. But yeah, you talk about the Man United player, and there's someone who just loves to be at the club and who we love at the club as well. She's always smiling. The amount of games that she's played, yeah, definitely. There's no reason to ever move her on. You know, as I just mentioned, we've only got 3 centre backs as well. So in my opinion, she hasn't got any competition anywhere else because she just has to start whenever she's fit, you know, unless it might be a cup game. Katie Zellum, obviously we have got a lot of midfielders, so potentially in the future maybe she could move on. Not that I would want her to, of course, but I think out of the 3 names that we just mentioned, Katie's from my point of view is probably more likely to move on in the future because we've already got plenty of midfielders anyway, so it might hurt the club less perhaps. But one name that we never mentioned is Leah Galton as well. I think out of everyone leaving, for me, you know, that would really make us suffer because the amount of goal contributions that she gets, the amount of excitement that she has when she's on the ball. You know, I'm not too sure of her contract status, like how many years she's got left, but we definitely need to make.
She's got a new contract in January, I think.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. Yeah. So yeah, we need to keep Leah obviously as long as possible.
I think, yeah. I mean, I'm surprised. You know, reading the comments, a lot of people disagree with you, John, in a way that they want Katie to get a new deal. She is the club captain. She's a Manchester United girl. I would like her to get a new deal. But I agree. You know, Leah signed a new deal in January, so I'm not too worried about her. Just very quickly before we finish, your hopes for next season. We'll probably do another one, but very, very quickly. Next season, quickly, your hopes of. I'm going to put you on the spot. Where are we going to finish, John?
If we get 3rd, amazing. If we get 4th in a cup final, I'd probably be happy.
Ian,
looking at how other teams have strengthened over the summer, I think we'll probably be 4th again.
Interesting. Right, one more because they're popping up here. Do you reckon there's going to be any more incomings?
Possibly subject to a court case in Spain.
Okay. John?
Yeah, same. I think the fact that we're 1 member down, aren't we, in the squad, if you look at how many's left and how many's coming. So yeah, I agree with Ian on that one. Yeah. Okay.
Very quickly, Jake said can't see us breaking into the top 3. City and Chelsea have made next level signings.
Yeah.
John has said we need 2 signings and we can finish 3rd. So that's kind of it for tonight. Thanks for joining us, everyone who watched. We'll be back next week at the usual time of 7 o'clock. Want to thank Ian and John. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And we'll see you again soon. Don't forget, follow us on Twitter. You know where we all are. And take care. Stay safe, everyone. Bye.
Good night.